before we get lost in the generalities of, examining the system, we need, as individuals, to examine ourselves. If we don't do that, ibibazo dufite tubitera system, tubijyana mu system igatangira cooperating nk'ifite ibibazo kubera ko dufite ibibazo. Ubu tukajyaho nyiramugengeri nta mashanyarazi twabonye, RDB infrastructure bikajya muri rusange, ariko somewhere there are individuals in that who really didn't think of what they need to do. These individuals might have gained individually in this mess. Bo bashobora kuba barabigizemo inyungu individually muri iyi mess. Somebody must have got away with something. And it always smells bad. It always happens that some people get away individually with something. And all of us inherit the mess and start blaming ourselves as a system. Yeah, but that's what happens. A system is just the aggregate of different parts. If these different parts are sick, you transmit that into the system. You delay a decision, or you make a wrong decision, it transmits into the system. And we are failing as individuals here to take stock of our own weaknesses and problems that we transmit into the system and get rid of these weaknesses or problems as individuals. To the point, some in the system put themselves as individuals above the system. It's what matters to them, it's what they think, it's what they want to do that must prevail, even if it is wrong. And that overrides on what the system had agreed to do, including the very person. So how can we deal with this matter? How can we deal with this? How do we deal with these individuals who just don't care, but not caring and not making the right decision? The consequence of that is transmitted to millions of our people. But you are there with too much French and English and too many things you've learned, There are things you we always have people who have been asking us, I want to go and study this, it's like, I say, but I tell them, but you had studied this other thing. What did you do with it, first of all? Did you really use it to do something decent for our people? Now you are going to add something else. Is it in the same vein? You are going to add another degree and another degree and another degree and come back and do nothing for us. So, but some of you have already accumulated these things happily, because even with that complaint I have, I just put it somewhere else and say, well, studying is always good, but it's even better if you really bring that knowledge and put it to work to do the very things we are talking about. Yeah? So, Musoni, if you have people who studied all kinds of things, and they are going to build us some power station from a pit, and yet they cannot know that there was a need for water. And I don't think technically they didn't know. No. There is something else in the mind that operates. They didn't pay attention. They didn't care. Maybe skipping that thing of there was a need for water and there is no water here, and you skip it when you know it, has some gains for this same person. Not because they didn't know. No. Maybe they need this power to be seen to be going on so that they make a cut somewhere else. And by the time we find we have no power station, we have nothing, money has been spent, we have to go back and do it. For them, they say, oh, sorry, I didn't see, we forgot, we didn't see this. I don't believe you. Something else wrong has happened. How can we keep? For us, it's a different issue. It's no issue of comparison we make between us and others. No, it's so much on delivering to meet our goals, our targets, to be where we want to be. Do we have where we want to be? I want to believe so. I think so. How about you? Do you really have in mind where you want to be, and that keeps disturbing you and keeping you awake at night? Do you? Nawauliza, and if you do, what happens? Why I was pointing, for example, to the governor, I wanted to say, it is not just the governor. I was actually talking about all governors. What do you govern when you are called governors? What do you do? When you are governors, what is the first thing you understand? That you are supposed to do what? What is this governor thing? What does it mean? For mayors who are here, being a mayor to you means what? Mayors wako wapi? What is that? What is that? What is being a mayor to you? Kuba mayors bivuze iki? Ni badge twambara gusa tukitwa mayor, and we go and make everybody else pay for it. Ubu muvaha mukagenda abo muyoboye mukabatura kwikorera umuzigo w'uko muri ba mayors, instead of working with them to address their problems. Mayors, nimwembaza.
Your Excellency, kwa mayor no committing our constitutional obligations by supporting our people to attain the goals that you have set for us, Your Excellency.
Yes, in practice, not in theory. Yes, in practice, meaning therefore results. Ariko, Minister of Health, the problems we have za mituweli tumaranye imyaka ingahe. Between the Minister of Health, the whole system of our health system, and the mayors and the governors and others, how could you allow this mess to go on for this long? Where mayors just literally killing those they lead, and for them they are benefiting, and corruption becomes everyday life. How do you allow that to happen? Later on, be part of it. Ibyo mvuga ntabwo mubizi, ndavuga iby'ahandi cyangwa murabizi? Ibyo mvuga murabyumva, murabizi, cyangwa n'ibyo nahimbye mvuga bindi? And you know it, and you are happy that we sit with it, and it happens like that. And the mayors, you know it or you don't know it? Yes? Murabizi? So, tubyihorere bimere bityo gusa, kuko byakozwe na mayors. Mayors, bari protected n'amategeko. Ntabwo amategeko aba protectinga mu kugirira nabi abaturage. Iyo bikoze wishe itegeko naryo riragufata. Ubwo rero tukajya mu struggle yo kuvuga ngo ariko uyu meya wamaze abantu abiba abagirira nabi, ari suppose kubayobora, ngo ariko ngo ntimumufateho, ngo meya ntafatwaho gusa gutyo. Ntabwo ubukiri meya. Ntabwo ubukiri meya. Meya nzigewe no muri iyo constitution uvuga ni meya ukorera abayobora. Yes. That is my reading of the Constitution. The rest is a procedure. But you are no longer mayor, as far as I am concerned, if what you are doing is detrimental to the people you are leading. Later on, actually commit a crime of stealing resources that should be used for people is a crime. So justice must apply. There are no two ways about it. There is no hesitation to say, oh, you can't be a mayor or a governor or a minister. Or if you are hurting the people you are leading, you've already gone against the very constitution you are talking about. Therefore, something must apply. Justice must apply. And how can we all here be people who are going to be silent and let such things go on? And tukagumya tworosaho gusa, tworosa hejuru tukanyuraho tukagenda ngo. Of course, I have said it here before. There are a number of reasons why that would happen. Ibyo bibaho kubera ko either you are actually doing the same somewhere else. Ubwawe uri involved in a mess somewhere else. Therefore, you have no courage to point to somebody and say, is this going wrong? Number one, you are also doing the wrong thing somewhere and you have no courage to point out the wrong somewhere else. That's one. Number two, you are blind. You don't see what needs to be seen that is wrong. Therefore, you don't deserve to lead people. Niba utabona ibikwiye kuba bibonwa that bigirira nabi abantu uyobora, biravuze ngo you are not supposed to be in that place in the first place. If you are not part of it, but you don't see it, and you don't see it as a way of managing what you are managing, then there is something wrong with you already also. Otherwise, if you are not part of it, and you actually see it, what stops you from taking action or initiating taking action? What stops people? What is it? Niki. It comes back to the simple thing of, it's like you are not putting yourself as an individual in the context of how the whole country gets affected by some individual's mistake or your own. So how do we deal with this? Businje, you wanted to tell me I'm going back and forth. I'm coming back to where we started. The questions I raised from the beginning, but I knew I would come back to you. So what is it? Because I'm coming back to you, I'm still going to ask you this question. And you should really tell me. Ibyo twavumbuye hano tutari tuzi, ibyo tuvanye hano bishya, turi busohokane tukajyana aho tugiye biza gutuma dukora ibintu ku buryo butandukanye, that nanjye mva hano mva ndi convinced ngo something has come out of this meeting. Ndashaka kubyumva, otherwise I don't want to come here and waste my time as some of you may be wanting that to happen. Yes.
Your Excellency, ngira ngo byinshi mwabivuze, nashaka kuvuga a few points dusa naho twagezeho ejo. Icyambere ni ukuvuga ngo nk'abayobozi ntabwo dukwiye kureba hanze y'iyi nzu ngo tuvuge ngo hari abandi bari hanze y'iyi nzu bashobora kugira icyo bahindura. Niba igihugu tudashobora kukiyobora turi muri iyi nzu uko turi ahangaha, ntidukwiye kubishakira ku bandi. The buck stops with us. Ntidukwiye gutekereza ngo hanze y'iki cyumba harimo abandi bantu bakwiye kuba responsible ya results. Icya kabiri, results not stories nizo zigeza abanyarwanda aho twavuze bashaka kugera muri mu byerekezo byinshi twagiye twiyemeza 2020, 2015 MDGs na gahunda zitandukanye z'igihugu z'uturere n'ahandi. Ni results ntabwo ari impamvu zituma tutabigeraho. Abayobozi ntabwo dukwiye kuba turi abajya gushaka impamvu tutageze ku byo dushaka kugeraho. Dukwiye kubigeraho. Niba tutabigezeho tumenye icyatumye tutabigeraho mu gihe kikiri cyakare. Ejo twagize ingero zitandukanye zirimo imyaka 5, imyaka 6, imyaka 7. Burinda bwira tutabonye icyatumye tutabigeraho. Ntabwo habuze amafaranga, ntabwo habuze abantu, ntabwo habuze, ariko hari stories zituma ukanaka atarakoze ikikanaka atarakoze.
Exactly. Aho niho nshaka.
Yes.
Aho ni tutahagobotora. Ntabwo nzi icyo dukora hano. If we don't answer that, That's why I'm afraid we are going to go back and do business as usual. And only come back next year to talk about the same thing. Aho niho nshaka exactly. Yes, mwarabiganiriye, mwarabivuze, ntabwo aribo bwa mbere mubivuga. Maybe you just discovered the new cases, old cases still that were not put out there, and you put them out there, fine. But the problem is different, as you are saying. How do we stop this cycle of this nonsense?
Your Excellency, ibitekerezo twagiye twegeranya ni one, it's about us and our character, not amategeko, not any other barriers.
How can we, mico yanyu mugiye kwicisha abanyarwanda, what your characters, what are they worth? Character, some character of an individual, ijyaho yica igihugu, some individual character ajyaho tumare ngo we have to keep up with it. It's like you have to accommodate me the way I am, whether I want it or not. No, I don't want it. Period. Why should we be hostage of your terrible characters? How? Why should Rwandans become hostage of your bad character, of your individual profit, or selfishness? Why? Why should Rwandans be hostage to this? And above all, why should there be this connivance, this silence that we are all driven into in accommodation of some terrible individual character? Why? Where has your revolutionary stance gone? You are people who could not tolerate this, honestly. This country that has shed blood in all kinds of ways, those who sacrificed fighting to uproot these bad habits, others who shed blood for their stupidity and cruelty and the rest of the nonsense. After that, how can we be the same people who just come and start being... Eh? How? I'm seeing Secretary General of RPF there, sitting there. Secretary General, how can RPF be part of this nonsense? How you, many of you here, be part of this daily nonsense centered on your individual character that gives us nothing? How? You see, the only luck we have, we are in a totally different phase. We are in a phase of, development, it's nation building, politics, and, the modern world. I wish if it was the old days, we would have fought badly over this. Yes, would. Some of us would take up arms against you and fight you. But how in this phase can I do that? How? Everybody became like the other. Abantu bose baba equal and the same, and the killers of yesterday and the liberators of yesterday have all become, ibintu biri aho bibi. What a shame. What a shame. Well, everybody's, is full of self-importance and doing nothing for this country that has suffered the way it has. Country that has suffered the way it has. Your people. I'm not talking about you so much. I'm talking about the more than 11 million people of Rwandans who are there, who even know we are here, thinking about them, planning to do things about them and for them, and they are there, but they are there thinking about individuals here who are just lost in themselves and doing petty things. How? Wish I could go in my old days and have that situation. I would fight. Yes.
Murakoze, Your Excellency. Ngiye mbona ikibazo kimwe cyangwa se indwara turwaye ikomeye nuko ibi byose bipfa kuri levels zose haraho ugera ugasanga individuals barabaye bigger than the system they are serving or they are supposed to serve. Niba meya ashinzwe akarere akaba bigger than the district n'abaturage ayoboye, biba ari ikibazo. Ushobora kubaka utyo ukagera ku rwego rw'igihugu, ku rwego rwa za minisiteri n'ibindi.
Ugera muri mikoro neza abantu nyuma bumve.
Sorry sir. Ubizamuye wagera ku rwego rwa ba ministers n'abandi. Byose rero it is about our characters. Mwavuze ibyo dukora aha ngaha, niba tuva aha ngaha tukabisiga aha ngaha cyangwa se niba hari icyo bizatumarira. Ibyo mwavuze nibyo, bamwe turabisiga aha ngaha twicaye, abandi tuzabisiga muri basi tuyivuyemo tugiye dutashye. Kandi ntabwo ari ibingibi gusa, n'izindi events tugera mu gihugu, yaba umushyikirano yaba iki, basigaye ibyumweru bibiri tuba tugwirirana tureba ibyemezo byari byarafashwe ubushize. Biravuga rero ngo tugomba gushaka uburyo duhora ducekinga characters zacu kugira ngo tumenye, ntutegereze retreat, tugomba ni buri munsi twagombye kuba tureba niba characters zacu zifitinga na purpose tugomba gusavinga. Izo mechanism rero ni bimwe mwavugaga, I don't know niba ari meditation, niba ari ukwisuzuma buri munsi, niba ari iki, ariko if we don't change nta kintu tuzahindura mu mikorere yacu no kuri system yacu tuzayangiza.
Yes. Yeah.
Murakoze, Your Excellency. Ikindi cyaganiriwe ejo kijyanye n'ibibazo bya accountability ni ingaruka kuri individuals zirenze abakoze ibyaha biri criminal bakurikirana n'inzego z'ubutabera, ariko n'ingaruka zijyanye na responsibility ku nzego zitandukanye. Uwabirebye wafite inshingano zo kubikurikirana ntabikore, uwabirebye bitambuka akabyihorera. Ejo ndumva haratanzwe ibitekerezo bitandukanye by'uko buri wese ufite responsibility uko bingana kose yagira nawe ingaruka zijyanye n'uruhare yagombye ko yaragize muri ibi bintu. Ndumva muze Senateri Tito yaravuga ati nibura umuntu agatakaze nibura n'igice cy'umushahara ku rwego rutandukanye bijyanye n'uburemere bw'inshingano yari afite mu gikorwa runaka, nubwo atari wateje rose ngo wenda atere ubujura, ariko uruhare ruri indirect narwo ntirukwiye kwibagirwa ngo biharirwe wa wundi gusa wafatiwe mu cyuho, ariko n'abandi bose bashaka kubikumira ko nabo bagira uburyo baba accountable. Murakoze, Your Excellency.
That is right. That's correct. I like it. But how does it happen? How does it happen when the whole system is ready to put up with it? How is somebody going to be identified so that action is taken, and who does it? when everybody's, the investigators will find a way of not giving us the truth. The judges in the judiciary, when even some truth has come out, they want to do this and kill it. Because I'm saying this because the Supreme Court judge is here, the Supreme Court chief is here, but corruption in the judiciary is still as alive as it was yesterday. And they need to attend to it also. Chief Justice, I think this is about 10th time I'm asking you and begging you and others, Babishinzwe, you see, telling me you sit and look at this and that is a good way, but not enough. Some drive needs to come into it. Corruption, even in the judiciary, continues as a way of business. I will not probably go into more than that, but the point I'm making is how do we, how do we effectively deal with it? You see, the moment you are ready to tolerate a crime or mediocrity or doing nothing as a mentality, then there is a problem. Ibyo bindi byose uvuga theoretically they are good, they sound good. But when it comes to the real, doing effective things that will reverse these trends, there is a problem. Yes, if people, say in a ministry or somewhere else, people are ready to just not to see the wrong that is going on, or to see it and tolerate it. So how do you achieve this? Holding people accountable. Who does it? Who does it? Who do we wait for to do it? This is where my problem is.
Mr. President, can I answer the question, who does
Yes, please, I'll come to you, don't worry.
Okay.
Who does it? The moment you are slow in doing something, or you look the other way, you want something to pass, so that you also do something else in the same direction, then usigaye ninde uzabikora? The parliament goes out there, parliamentarians go out there, bakajya mu baturage, they see what wrong is there, they take notes, and when they come, they can either they report to people who will sit on it and nothing happens, or they may also say, ibi bintu ntawamenya, reka bitazagaruka uyu muntu twabibonyeho, cyangwa se niyo wabivuga urabivuga se ngo hanyuma bigende bite, so bagahitamo kwicecekera. Something bad happens, something negative always will happen as to why things won't be done. Buri wese muri twe akishyiramo to look for reasons why something should be done, should not be done, or should not happen, instead of finding reasons why something should happen or should be done. The starting point y'abayobozi ni ukuvuga ngo ariko iki kintu kiragoye, ariko iki kintu kirakomeye, ariko se wabigira utya bikaba. So in other words, you are driving, urajya mu direction nk'ivuga ngo nta gikwiriye gukorwa. Instead of somebody driving in the direction everyone will know. But something can happen. Something should happen. Something should be done to remedy this. So ugasanga the majority y'abantu irajya mu direction iganisha mu how things should not happen. Yes, Mwenda, I heard your voice. I think you must be the one.
Yes.
If there's anybody who has the same voice as you, and,
No. No one has bought a patent, Mr. President. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for giving an old man of my age a chance to add to what you're saying. You see, I sat through this meeting yesterday, and every minister who spoke, every government official, they savaged each other. This has failed, this has failed, this has failed.
not enough.
I think it was too much. So today I have sat here and you have savaged everyone. But Mr. President, I have this feeling in me. One, on all indicators a person would look at, whether they are the global based, Rwanda, a poor country far in the middle of Central Africa, with low skills, no access to the sea, has achieved so much, whether it is in economic growth, whether it's in life expectancy, whether it's in the speed of the construction and consolidation of a state after civil war, Rwanda has acted as the best in the whole world. You can set Rwanda against every country in the world. In those things where it has done well, you can put it among the world's best. Whether it is in the business reforms, Rwanda would come among the top 10 in the world. So the question is, why are we therefore frustrated with ourselves? And I think that is because we are looking at, on the one side, of what we have done and achieved. Rather, we are looking at on one side of what we are failing to do. And I don't think that, although it is very good to show people where they are failing, it is always better to leverage a person's strength rather than to fix their weaknesses. And we need to know, why has Rwanda achieved this much, even with all these failures and frustrations that you have, Mr. President? Why has Rwanda achieved all this? And if we identify it, then we can say, how do we proceed to leverage the strengths of each one of the leaders individually and collectively to continue to achieve great things? Because even at the highest level of achievement, there will be many failures. You will have, Mr. President, many frustrations. You will have people you will not be happy with. But ultimately, we need to discuss what is it that has allowed Rwanda to have the fastest growth in life expectancy in the world, to have the fastest growth of an economy in the world, among the top 15 fastest growing economies in the world. What has allowed Rwanda to have the fastest growth in health coverage? There is no country of Rwanda, even the United States, does not have the level of medical coverage that Rwanda has. Yet this is a very poor country. So I think that if we ask ourselves, what is our strength? Why have we been able to achieve all this in spite of all these weaknesses? It will be better for us to move forward, Mr. President.
No, I completely disagree with you.
I thought so, Mr. President.
And I will leave that approach to you as a journalist to write stories, and that's very fine with me. But for me, I'm not here to praise these good Rwandans for what has been achieved. I am here to discuss those you call in spite of. In spite of, we have achieved this in spite of this. That is my point. You see what I mean? Because that is very important. If you say Rwanda has made progress in spite of this weakness, my time should be spent on this weakness, not on what we have achieved. What we have achieved, we have achieved. Can we learn lessons from what we have achieved? And because here, Mwenda, the problem is that twofold. It's not just achieving that I'm thinking about. There are two things. One, it's how do we sustain what we have achieved? 2, how do we deal with in spite of things so that we make more progress? The problem with your approach is exactly what has happened in many other cases. You make progress. There is what you know, your friend, my namesake, said, worried well. Worried well, that is Paul Collier. Worried well, it means we are doing well, but I am worried. I'm worried about this sustainability. If we don't address the in spite of things you are talking about, and that's where my focus goes. Another thing is, the things we are talking about, which we have even made attempt of isolating and specifying for discussion, are real, they are there. So how do we cover this up by something else that has happened well? How do I not emphasize that we failed to get power that we should have got 3-4 years ago, and people are trying to deliver it now, and I don't find out what is it that caused this 3-year, 5-year delay. How do I go say, you know, things generally in Rwanda are happening better than anywhere else? Fine, but does that answer my question, how we did not deliver 15 megawatts we should have delivered, that we need so badly? It does not. So my main problem, let me show you. In actual fact, if we have delivered things 70%, and we have not delivered things 30%, my worry, 70% of my worries are on the 30% we haven't delivered. 30% of my worries are on the things that have been delivered. You see my point? Yes. I have more worries about the few things that have not been delivered, and of course, less worries about things that have been delivered. The things that have been delivered, my worry is sustainability. But not delivering on the 30% may actually cause the problem of sustainability for the other ones that have been delivered. You may have the house coming down, crashing on you, if you don't address that. You see my point? So, for praises of what we have achieved, we can leave it to musicians to compose good music and poems and by artists and praise us. I have no problem with that. Yes. or leave it to journalists to write all kinds of praises and say, oh, Rwanda is the best thing that has ever happened in this world. That's okay. But no, I still have these serious problems. You may call few. And by the way, something else. Andrew, the very many successes that you are talking about or the many, if you will, which we should all pride in and share. They take a toll on a few people. You understand what I mean? They really take a toll on a few people. And I don't think a country like ours, so hard pressed for good results, that we must deliver anyway, whether they want it or not, is something we can leave to be carried by a few individuals. Then that brings another problem of sustainability I'm talking about. We can't, yes, everybody shares in this, and rightly should share in this. But you know how much sits on a few people's shoulders every single day. How many fights that people have got to get involved in for something to be delivered, as demonstrated by a few cases we are talking about. It's you with an investor who came to Rwanda one time recently. Somebody came here all the way from the United Kingdom. You were in the meeting. And somebody, you can see this, because you give me an opportunity to point this out. Do you remember it was last October when we went to UK, we had an investors conference, right? There were a whole host of ministers here, Minister of Finance, Minister Valentin, Minister of Commerce, Minister Musoni, Minister everybody. They were there. We had RDB, we had all of us there. I was there, too. Now, first of all, what are we going to do in this investment conference? It is to try and bring investors, attract investors to come and invest in these areas we want investments in that mean a lot to the growth of our economy, to the development of our country, and so on and so on, the prosperity of our people, right? It is the other day, it's not so long ago, when this person came with you. And imagine somebody to come from UK to be the one to come and remind us and say, and they had, I wish you had even gone to somebody else, but they even had to come to me. To stay. Imagine this man being the one to come all the way, spending his money, to come and say, you know what? You know, I was following up on these things myself, but I found Rwandans have not been following up on these investors who are there and who are actually interested in the good story of Rwanda. Am I telling lies?
You are telling the truth, Mr. President.
So what does that mean? Tell me how all these ministers were there, and the president and the RDB and everybody, and actually nobody followed up. Does that get explained by, is it explained by the good stories we have had in the past? Or the success we have made in some areas? Tell me, let somebody tell me, you know, make these connections. We spent all the money on this trip, and we had every purpose in our minds to say investments. And there are people interested, but we are not interested in them. When we went there, what is the explanation? And you know, some of these people I'm talking about can even challenge me and say, no, but President, me, I followed up on this. Another one may say, no, I also followed up on that. But imagine if I got an answer like this, or if I got a challenge like this. Don't you find something wrong with even that kind of thing? That somebody would dare say, no, but I think me, I followed up on this. Then another one, no, I also tried to talk to somebody. No, what I'm talking about, when we went to UK, we did not go as minister so-and-so individually or president individually. We went there as Rwanda, as one system. Isn't it? So how can you therefore tell me we went there, we came back, but we had not designed, one, we did not really have a plan of how we are going to attract people as Rwanda, not as when Francis remembers, or when, Kanimba remembers or decides to remember, and something like that. And later on, when somebody comes still here raising the question, they're still, and this person was even begging us. I really felt so bad. He was saying, can you allow me to follow it up for you because I'm in touch with these people? And RDB, Claire was in the meeting. It was like, you see, we have to first write a memorandum of understanding, then, you see, signing it, I almost... But this is something being discussed months after the meeting. You are still discussing whether you write a piece of paper and you see you have some understanding. Which world do you live in, you people, honestly? Which world? When you get you I thought you were exposed to this modern world we live in, but when you come home, it's like, to not even be sensitive to this time wasted since October. Instead of these ministers, to have sat when they came back immediately in October and work out something and connect with whoever they need to connect with or through whoever they want, they just come and switched off. Until somebody else from outside came and was literally begging us. And then even when he's begging us on something that is obvious, somebody can afford to delay them and say, no, we are still thinking about it, or how to do it. What world do you live in? So is this, Mwenda, what you want me to base on, to start praising ourselves for what we have achieved?
Can I say something, Mr. President?
Yes.
First, you see, I agree with you. In fact, today the roles have changed. I always come and express my own frustrations about things not happening. And you always say, no, you be slow, things can work.
No, I don't misrepresent it.
Yes, I have these frustrations.
I cannot tell you that be slow. If there's anybody who wants anything slow, it's me. Mm. What I tell you, don't misrepresent me. Mm. What I tell you is, I've one time told you, I said, you see, you fight with an army you have. If you have a Sikh army, that's the one you have. That will be reflected in the battle. You cannot have a Sikh army and fight a war as if you have an army that is quick on their feet and the sickness in the army will be reflected in how you fight the battles. This is what I have been telling Mwenda. So sometimes, you see, theoretically, again, that's really the problem. How things can be done and should be done is known. But the gap arises because of how people translate what they know into what they do and should do. Right? So don't misrepresent me.
Mr. President, so I was saying that, first of all, I am conscious of the fact that I don't want you to get frustrated a lot. I want you also to be motivated, and to be motivated by the achievements.
You don't want, but
you-
how are you going to deliver it?
I want you to be motivated.
Because if you can't change these people, I am condemned to frustration.
So when you are motivated that these guys have achieved a lot of things, you can fix those 30% gaps with greater motivation than when you are frustrated. So psychologically, I feel I should do, that is also my responsibility. And two,
That sweetening of things
and two,
is not my world. My
and two,
world
Mr.
is
President,
different.
I want these guys also to be motivated that they have achieved so much and they can do much more, rather than for them to walk away thinking they have not done anything. That is why I had to raise these achievements.
I still don't agree.
And three,
I think some people here need to be fought seriously.
and three, there is something called the Pareto principle that always 80% of the work is done by 20% of the people. And you, as president, you will have to bear a heavier burden, suffer more frustration, and in getting this work done. Not every work will not be distributed evenly. But Mr. President, please, I want these guys to walk away knowing that they have achieved a lot of things. I cover what they do, and they have many weaknesses, but those weaknesses are not as significant as their strength, and we need to leverage those
Their
strengths.
weaknesses are terrible. Yeah, we have to call a spade a spade. I'm not going to hide. The weaknesses we will spend so much time talking about are just terrible. And I really don't like your comments. You can reserve them for your independent newspaper. You write them there and you read them there, but I'm not here to tell these people lies, or to please them, or to, actually not even to beg them. I'm going to fight them. Yes. I'm not going to hide this. We are going to have to keep fighting. I translate my frustrations into a fight. We just can't switch off that praise. Yes, I don't want us to be happy with this whole, how nice it is, and then we come the next day, find it has been run down. No, I'm not going to call a spade something else. That is the one burden you have to carry in me. In me, as long as you have me, you have this burden. I'm not going to tell you lies. If you are happy to be told lies, then I'm happy not to tell you lies. Yes. Their strength, okay, they know their strength. Why don't they base on that strength and solve it? I am telling you thousands, you want more cases? I'll tell you thousands of cases. Whether they translate into strength, I don't know. If you want me to tell you their strength also, I can do that. But they know it. So why don't they base on the strength to do the right thing? Today, you have a bad day with me on that. I can't tell lies. I can't come and that is called cosmetic. You know, there are people who brush so many things on their faces, they try to change it, but it is only cosmetic. They remain who they are ultimately. You scratch a bit on the face of it, you get to the person. Isn't it? Yes. That only can deceive the mirror. Yes, but if you brush it off, then you go back to the same person. So I'm not going to paint any cosmetics on your faces, please. I'm not in that job.